Lauren Frihauf is here. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm great. We've chatted about doing this for a while, and I'm glad we're doing the interview now. Um, and I probably mentioned in the monologue that I do after the interview, but I probably mentioned in the monologue that you were a student of mine for a while, uh, and then we've done some work together on your records and stuff, and you're out doing the thing,
Yes.
out gigging and stuff. So how did you first get into music? I mean, you grew up on a farm in eastern Colorado, and you're on The Voice, tiny desktop shelf, you're playing all over the place. How did this start?
Honestly, I think it just started. Um, there's so much music around the house, and my brothers played guitar and piano. I liked to sing, and I would make up songs all the time when I was little. And over time, I think my love for music grew. I took lessons. I joined the School of Rock, and I decided that that's what I wanted to do full time. I guess that's a general summary.
Was there a thing that happened? I know when we started working together, you were very in School of Rock. I mean, you were doing, they have like an all-star band, I think, right, that you
hmm
were a part of. Was there a moment with School of Rock that made you want to pursue music?
I feel like the first day I went in there and saw how amazing the other musicians were and like what the potential could be if I got to a certain level. I don't know. I feel like just being alongside those other musicians and being in those shows just like made me realize how much I really loved music and performing. And I don't know if there was an exact moment where I decided that that's what I was going to pursue, but I feel like I just knew um, when I started there.
And you were a part of the anybody can join School of Rock, right? I mean, they're pretty inclusive
hmm
at all skill levels, but then they roll out the big guns for
Yeah.
certain showcases and stuff, right? And you were one of the big guns. What was the process there? I mean, you were in their all-star group. You got to travel around and stuff.
Well, I started with the show and then I loved that. I wanted to do more, so they had a house band at the local school, so that's the next level. And that's where you get to gig and kind of get more like real life experience ish, you know. So you're playing at different venues around Denver, um, and learning songs with a bunch of different people and getting experience playing with other singers and instrumentalists. And then after that, if you want, like if you're part of a house band, you can audition for the All Star tour, which happens over the summer. And that's just really cool because you get to see different parts of the country and meet people that you probably wouldn't have otherwise, from all over the world.
And were you regularly singing before you joined School of Rock?
I sing quite a bit. I took vocal lessons and did recitals, but I mean, I wasn't singing as much, like nearly as much as I was when I actually joined, you know.
Somebody told you when you joined that you had a natural aptitude for it, I'm guessing.
Yes. Yeah, there
Um,
was a lot of encouragement.
yeah, well, and you have one of those voices. I mean, you've worked very hard on your voice, but you also naturally have a great voice. Some people might work hard at it, and it's not for them. Uh, but you really do have a natural aptitude. Um, and that combined with the work makes a great singer. Was there a moment when you realized, like, oh, I'm really good at this? I don't know how to put it more modest than that.
I feel like I knew I had potential to be good at it, but I feel like the first time I really started to believe that I could really get good at it is when I learned how to belt and
Yeah.
like found my chest voice, because before that I sang pretty quietly and it was all like mixed voice and head voice, and I didn't think that I had much power. So that was kind of discouraging. And then I had this one teacher at School of Rock who worked on my belt with me, and that was like the most freeing moment looking back, like in my vocal journey. And after that I was like, whoa, if I can do this, like what else can I what else can I do with my voice? Like this is amazing. And so I feel like after that I kind of just chased that feeling of, getting better and kind of expanding what I could do with my voice.
Was GV the vocal teacher?
He wasn't my first one. He was one of my favorites though. He's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. We went to school together, so I remember when that connection was made. How I mean it without I don't know if you want to give a full on vocal lesson, but how does somebody, when you say you learned how to belt, what's that process? How do you learn how to belt?
I think it kind of depends on the person. For me, it was like your belt is pretty much in the same vocal range as like your speaking voice and like your calling range. And I don't remember exactly what exercises we did, but I believe it was like some calling exercises and like, hey, and like then you start adding the notes to that. And at first it's a little shaky and it feels really weird and uncomfortable, but when you start working that in to like the songs that you do and everything, it starts to become more natural. And there was like a moment where I was able to start like belting like notes that I didn't think I could sing powerfully. And I don't know, that was really freeing for me. So I don't remember
Yeah.
exactly what song or exercise it was, but I think it was like a culmination of a few different things.
What were you listening to when you were first starting out on stuff? Because I think about your music now and your influences now, and even when we were in lessons, you were bringing in, Hiatus, Kaiyote songs and stuff like that. In School of Rock was probably way different. I mean, where did your musical influence start from?
My dad listened to a lot of classic rock, and then before I joined School of Rock, I was listening to a lot of pop music, I think. I really liked Adele. I really liked Sheryl Crow. And then when I joined School of Rock, my first show was actually a funk show, and it was not rock and roll music at all. So that kind of expanded my horizons musically right off the bat.
Yeah.
And then honestly, I think I got a lot of my music taste from the other kids that were there. So like Hiatus Kaiyote was a favorite among some of the really good musicians, and at the time I was like, whoa, that sounds cool and pretentious. I want to be cool and pretentious too.
Yeah.
And then I ended up actually really enjoying that music.
Becoming really cool and really pretentious.
um, um, but I would say School of Rock definitely influenced like a lot of my musical taste now, because even though it's called School of Rock, you end up getting thrown into shows that are, prog,
Yeah.
jazz, soul, folk, and
Yeah.
immerses you in all different sorts of genres. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's something I find really interesting about you is especially as I've gotten to know you more and if like hired you at Eddie V's a bunch and stuff. You're kind of a musical chameleon when you need to be, right? It doesn't like I've heard you sing and play all kinds of different genres throughout the years in different instruments and all kinds of stuff. Yet even when you were 14, 15, I don't remember you bringing in a song that was just like a C, F, and a G. There was always something, a weird chord, and sometimes you didn't even know what the chord was. Like I remember you'd come in and be like, I do this now, and it was like, major 7 sharp 11 or something with this beautiful melody over it. where do you think that comes from? That ability?
I don't know. I think I rely on my ear pretty heavily, and certain things sound really interesting to me, and so I kind of just gravitate towards what sounds cool. And I feel like early on, relying on my ear, I would just kind of play for a while until I could find the things that were interesting to me, even if I didn't really know what it was. And along the way, I've sort of learned more like what those patterns are and those shapes that I really like are. Um, but I don't know. I think it's really just my ear and what I find interesting, and I go in that direction. Yeah.
When you were growing up and coming in for lessons and stuff and going to School of Rock, doing all these things, all these bands, you had to travel a long way, right? I mean, wasn't it everything was going on in Denver, and you lived, I think you're closer to Denver now,
Hmm.
but you were nowhere near Denver. How much of a sacrifice was that to be coming into town 2, 3, 4 days a week?
Well, that was about 3 hours for one, like there and back. So it was a lot of time in the car. Bless my mom,
Yeah.
for doing that with me. I think it was more of a sacrifice on her end than for me, for sure. Like, that's where
Yeah.
my Denver was where life was for me.
Now, was there ever any tension there of like, I can't spend 3 hours in the car today and 2 hours at your lesson or whatever? She seemed to always just kind of roll with it and
No,
say, this is what we got to do.
no, she believed so much in me that she never made it known that it was a sacrifice for her. And so I'm very grateful for that.
I don't remember what year this was. You'll have to refresh my memory, but you did The Voice,
Yes.
season 19, correct?
Yeah.
What year was that?
2020.
2020. Okay. So, first off, how did you hear about the audition, and what was that process?
My vocal teacher at the time received some early emails. I think The Voice will send things to all the vocal coaches around the country, like before they roll out their like public, here you can register to audition here. And so he sent it to me, sent some videos, like I did an application, and then they asked me to fly to Nashville for the producer rounds, and I did that.
What's a producer round?
Oh, so you basically go into, I don't know, I think it was like in a warehouse somewhere in Nashville. It was next to the Church of Scientology. That's what I remember.
You know what? I
And
don't usually hang out around there, but I'm not sure what part of town that's in.
um, and there's just a waiting room with all of these musicians of all ages just waiting to go sing some songs for the producers. I think I had three picked out. There's like a Amy Winehouse song, I think My Girl by the Temptations, and another one I can't remember. And there's like three people on the panel and just like this big white light in front of me so I couldn't really see them. And they just like had me say my name, start the songs, and then at the end I was like, I wonder how that went. And they're like, cool. Go to this next waiting room. Like you're going to the next round. I'm like, oh, okay, sweet.
Wait, right then? They just
Yeah.
told you right then?
Yeah, just right after. And went to the waiting room, I guess signed some papers, and then went home, and COVID hit. So I didn't hear for a while and figured, okay, well, it's not going to happen this year. That's all right. Just how it is. And then they called, I think in May. I think that audition was in November. And then they like called in May and said, hey, we're going to do the show. Can you fly out to Burbank, California? I think it was in June or July. And I ended up being there for 3 months and being on the show.
Now, did you pick the audition songs?
For the producer rounds, yes.
Okay.
For the blind auditions, you get the illusion of choice.
Oh, okay. The illusion of choice.
Yes.
You mean like they give you a couple options to pick from?
Yeah. They give you two.
Okay. I love it. So you went to do the show, obviously. And were there certain, I mean, how strict was it in terms of both being in California during COVID, and I've heard that you can't talk about game show results whilst you're on the show.
It was pretty strict. I mean, we were wearing double masks, testing 3 times a week. We would go get our food, go back to our hotel rooms. And for the battles, there was a little more freedom because if you had to practice with your partner. And so you would go to this room and there would be a plastic sheet between you and the other person, and then you would sing together. And otherwise you could mingle with the other artists if you were outside and socially distanced. So we did that a lot. And eventually, kind of as we were there for a while, everybody got a little bit looser about following rules since, we were in this hotel quarantined and testing so much. We're like, all right, you might find somebody without their mask on every once in a while.
Not you. No.
No.
Was it a normal functioning hotel at the time, or did you guys have a whole floor to yourself?
It was, I think at first it was just us, and there was a floor for the minors and then a floor for the adults. And then towards the end of the 3 months, we started seeing other people entering the hotel. So I think they started functioning as a normal hotel again.
So the hotel was kind of your living room. The lobby was kind of your living room for a while.
Yes.
And when they separated minors and adults, you mean like minor contestants with their families on? Okay, I see.
Yeah.
And how old were you when you did?
I was 16.
Wow. And your mom was out there with you the whole time?
Yes. Yeah.
So what are your takeaways from the experience? Would you recommend it to all singers? Stuff that you liked, didn't like?
I think it's cool. I mean, I'm really glad I got to do it. I wouldn't have been doing anything else at that time, and it really reinforced that music was what I love to do, and it gave me a lot of validation to keep pursuing it, for sure. I don't know if I would do it again.
Yeah.
The TV part of it is a little weird, and they kind of bend your story to be whatever they want it to be because they're producing a show and they need you to fit a certain character.
Yeah.
As a younger person, like, they definitely wanted to put me into the homeschooled farm girl who's never been to the big city. And this is her first time, being in the spotlight,
Yeah.
and that was my story. As an adult, I feel like you could kind of play it more as a game if you wanted to, so that could be fun. They do pay you, but probably not as much as you would maybe want if you're a gigging full-time musician and it's not COVID times. So that would be kind of difficult. But the exposure's great. You meet a lot of cool people. You get to meet some really big hitters in the music industry, so that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think I would recommend it. I think I would recommend it if somebody wants to do that. It'll be a fun adventure.
Were
at
you?
least.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Did you feel when you're talking about how they can bend your story a little bit to whatever? I mean, because this whole thing is PR, right?
Yes.
This whole universe, it seems like sometimes. Were you comfortable with the story that they kind of created for you? I mean, I know it is sort of your story, but were you comfortable with rolling with that when they said this is the farm girl who's first time in the big city?
I mean, I didn't really know until they actually, like, the episodes aired, how they.
Really?
I mean, the only hint of that I really got was how they dressed me for my first, like, my blind audition. And I was like, oh, I wouldn't wear this normally, but watching it on TV, I was like, oh, I see the vision.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know
yeah,
what
yeah.
they're going for.
They're smart.
They are.
So they dressed you.
Yes.
Really? Well, I
Yeah.
guess of course. I just hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. Um, I think my experience with wardrobe was probably my least favorite part of
Mm.
the experience, to be candid. I don't think they dressed me very well, but that's my only complaint.
Yeah. You mean you just would have been more comfortable in whatever you normally wear?
Well, I gave them a vision board and they kind of completely ignored it. And I think it was for the battles, they forgot that I was a minor and they ended up giving me all of these outfits that had like super low cut, like V-necks and like were super short. I was like, well, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to like put me on television in this outfit because I'm a minor. And then like the person who was dressing me was like, oh, well, I didn't know that. And they like had me come again with like these alternate outfits that were kind of just like thrown together last minute. It worked out. I think it was fine, but yeah, no, I definitely wasn't wearing things that I would normally.
And you were team. You were on a couple teams, Gwen and John.
Yes.
Did you get? I don't even remember. Did you get like traded or swooped or something? I don't know how that. I don't remember how it works. I've only watched when you were on the show. It's the only time I've ever watched.
um, I got stolen by John.
You got stolen. I see.
Yes.
Do you feel like you made relationships with the celebrities on the show at all?
Not really, to be honest. I mean, you only get like 45 minutes in front of the camera with them for a rehearsal. And most of the time is actually spent with a vocal coach,
I
like
see.
prepping you for the battles and the knockouts. But I did get some really good insight from them. They were very kind. And, you know, the things that I did glean from being around them were very vital and awesome. And I will hold with me for the rest of my life. And, you
Yeah.
know, it was really cool.
And there was some great relationships made there too, right? I mean, I remember, you met Paige, I think, doing one of the Paige
Mm-hmm.
Turner doing one of the battles, and you guys ended up doing a bunch of collaborative stuff together.
Yes.
Um, it seemed like there was some really cool stuff in it.
I would say meeting the other contestants is the most meaningful part of the whole experience. Because you're kind of in this weird experience that nobody on the outside can really understand in the moment. And so you go through that together and you bond over it. And then, after the show, it's kind of something you can all hold and, I've like met up with a few of the artists like since over the years and they're still doing it. And, it's really cool to see where they are after the show.
How are you spending your time, and what's the most important thing to you in terms of, gigging and writing and figuring out how to be funny on Instagram or whatever?
Well, I haven't figured that one out yet.
Yeah. Me neither. But yeah, what's priority A and B for you right now, just in the everyday life?
Priority A and B. I would say music wise, just creating as much as I possibly can, and then gigging, and so that I can live and fund my creative stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then social media is not of importance as much to me right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And is that because you just want to make music, or are you I think a lot of us have gotten a little worn down by it and even take breaks and stuff. I mean, what's your relationship with it?
I think for me right now, it's just not really serving my current goals. Um, like I'll post stuff to let people know that I'm playing a show, or if I'm working on something and I happen to get a good video, I'll post it. But right now, I really want to focus all my creative energy into being a vessel for songs and writing as much as possible, you know? Because I feel like I just have this, I just really want to create as much as I can right now. And I'm writing more songs than I ever have, and I just want to see how far I can go with that and how much I can make. Um, and then, you know, I'll worry about social media later when when I've recorded that stuff and I want to promote it, but I want to have the work there first.
Do you have a specific practice in terms of when you write and stuff, or is it just sort of whenever it comes?
I feel like now I have a goal this year to have at least one song on average per week written. Um, and I feel like with that goal, I end up writing. So far, I'm ahead of my goal, which I'm excited about. um, Honestly, I feel like focusing on things that don't seem to necessarily have anything to do with music end up actually impacting my music a lot, you know, making sure that I take time every day to go outside for a walk or do my gratitude journaling or just have like different habits in place. I feel like I find a lot of just inspiration in the world around me and, just trying to be present in that moment to capture things that might inspire a song, whether I am aware of it or not. And I feel like by having routines like that in place and just, being present in the world around me, I'm writing some of my favorite stuff that I've ever made. And that brings me a lot of joy and fulfillment. So I just want to keep doing that. And I'm excited to, share that with other people. And, whatever happens with that music will happen. And whoever resonates with it will hear it and love it,
How do you keep a gratitude journal? Is that something that you do daily? Is it, I mean, how does it work?
Well, I'm a little out of practice this week. But yes, daily is, I try to do it daily. And I try to write at least 10 things that I'm grateful for the day. And that's just a very like simple centering task, that kind of keeps you aware of, what's going on in your life. Like, what are the things that I'm really grateful for right now? Like, what is this? Maybe it's a random part of my day that I would forget about later. But I feel like if you write it down, it kind of becomes more solid in your memory. And then, I don't know, some of those things might be more in your psyche for when you're writing.
What made you start doing it?
Honestly, just I've been really focusing on like taking better care of myself in the last couple years, and I don't remember what inspired me to start doing that, but I was journaling for a little bit, and then I think I wanted to have a more structured way of doing it, and that's a really easy and simple thing that only takes like 5 minutes, because sometimes I feel like if you look at journaling like, oh, I gotta write all my thoughts down, or if you don't really have like a way of doing it before going into it, you can kind of dread it almost and then never do it.
Yes.
And so if you have like, okay, I'm just gonna write things that I'm grateful for, you do it every day. It's really simple, and then some days you might feel inspired to write more afterwards, and it kind of opens the floodgates a little bit. Yeah.
And when you say you've been writing a song a week, whether it stems from something in the gratitude journal or just what you see on your walk or whatever, are these always solo writes, or are you doing a lot of co-writing as well?
I've actually been doing probably, I don't know, I feel like this year it's maybe 2/3 solo, and then with this new Road Pony project, I've written quite a few songs with Megan. So those are included in the song a week for me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I do I don't do it every week, but I'll do a stretch for like, I don't know, however many weeks. I'm like, I'm going to get a song done every week. And whenever I co-write with somebody, I'm like, yeah, this week's going to be easy.
Yes.
There's two of us making sure this is getting done. Not just me, because that can be trouble. When you finish songs, do you do anything with them? Like, do you always demo them, or do you just do an iPhone thing?
I at least have a voice memo of the complete like structure of the song so that I can remember it later. And then if I really like the song, I try to then like do a better demo with my recording equipment and like, layer a bunch of harmonies and stuff. So I have something I can give to, or I don't know, I have a better idea of how I want to like fully produce it for the next step.
So you're able to record at home?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you use Logic or?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I know you. I mean, you send me remote vocal
yes.
tracks, but I don't know how you do it. You just mentioned Road Pony, your new project with Megan Burt and I believe Braxton Kahn and Dave Devine.
Yes.
How did that project come about, and how is it different than the other stuff you've done?
We were driving up to Basalt for one of Megan's Christmas shows back in December, and Megan mentioned wanting to start a country band, and then there were 3 of us in the car, and we started like spitballing band names. And then I think there was a few ideas, like I think Pony came first, and then we were like Tiger Pony, and then like I feel like Roadhouse was a word that came in, and then we were like Road Pony, and we were like, this is gonna be a real band, and then I made an Instagram domain, and it was real.
You made the Instagram domain?
Yes.
Is this a fun side project for you guys, or is this the all-out thing? Like, we're gonna put our forces together and tour and do the thing with it?
We'll see where it goes. I mean, I didn't know we were like how serious we were going to be about it, but so far we've written 20 songs for this project.
My gosh, 20?
Yeah. And we have like shows booked like over the summer, and we have no videos out or anything, but I think there's some cool opportunities just for the idea of having a country band, and people think it's interesting and want to hear it.
How true are you to the country tradition?
I think that we've written some pretty Western stuff. I've managed to slip in some of my fun chords in there.
Your chords are all valid because you grew up on a farm. So, I think you're allowed to use whatever extensions you want to.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And how about your solo stuff, the self-titled stuff, Lauren Frihauf? What's the latest with that?
I have a lot of music in the canon. I'm actually gonna record some stuff next week. I'm very excited about that. I I want to see how much I can just put out as often as possible. I feel like before or just in the past, I have a tendency to like sit on things for too long and then I lose inspiration and never do anything with it. But there's definitely some songs that I have not recorded that I think deserve to be recorded. And so I want to be better about just recording a little bit sooner after I write something while it's fresh and
Yeah.
while I'm in love with it and am excited to share it with other people.
Okay, that's interesting. That happens to me all the time where I'm excited about a song and I'm busy and I move on to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I'd captured that lightning in a bottle. Not saying it was the greatest song ever right when I wrote it. And in fact, maybe I have a clearer head about it a week later, but I just mean recording it while I'm passionate about it.
Yeah.
Do you think you can, is that just internal? Do you just lose something, or do you think you would project it to the audience in a certain way if you record it while it's fresh and you're into it?
That's a good question. I think mainly I just lose the inspiration or the connection to it a little bit if I wait too long.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like recording while it's fresh, while you have the connection, it comes through in the recording more, and then it might be a little more meaningful for the listener.
Yeah.
If you do that. So, yeah.
And you're talking about releasing, I mean, you're talking about like how much music can I put out? Do you mean like put out for people to listen to, like on the Spotify or the Tidal or whatever we're all supposed to be listening on these days?
All of it. Sure.
Yeah, like actually commercially putting stuff out. What does consistency look like to you when you say that?
Good question. I feel like I'm gonna find out in the next few months after I've recorded these songs.
Yeah.
I'd love to get to a point where I'm releasing like a song like every couple months. Like that'd be great. You know, just letting it come through and putting it out, you know, be awesome.
And when you're going to record some of these songs in a couple weeks, are you recording an album or are you recording singles?
I'm not really worried about the album thing as much right now. So probably just singles. You know, if I feel like there's a collection of songs that should be grouped together, I'll probably end up listing it like under one album or something if that makes sense.
Yeah. When we did Shadows in the Soul Machine over quite a period of time, you know,
Yes.
and there was a few songs that you recorded and then scrapped and re-recorded them. I mean, you know, it took some time and ended up being a really great product. How did that turn out in your mind? Putting them, I mean, I know you did some singles, but you put out a full album at the beginning of November. How did that turn out from a, you know, from a promotional aspect? Did this kind of make you say, you know what, I think I just want to do a bunch of singles, or was putting out a full album something that you kind of just checked off the list and they felt like they were an album together?
I feel like part of it was checking it off the list. I really wanted to have a full album under my artist name. I thought that would be fun.
Right.
I feel like that album was, I don't know, I guess every album is kind of representing like a moment in time or a period of time. And when I released it, I kind of just let go of really caring too much about how it did streaming wise.
Yeah.
And stuff. You know, I feel like I've changed a lot since I've recorded those songs. When I was done with it, I kind of just felt ready to move on and write more things. Um, it was a really cool learning experience. You know, if people listen to it and enjoy it and it's doing its thing, that's great. But I'm not too worried about how it does necessarily after the fact, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a great sounding record, and I'm excited
Thank
for
you.
consistent Lauren releases. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, me too. Hopefully I can do it.
Do you do you feel like you've found your scene, or are starting to? And the reason I ask is because I feel like I've always struggled with this. And I remember, in college, they were like, "You're blues, go play in the blues club," and then the blues
Mm,
people were like, "You're not. This isn't blues." And they were right, of course, but they said, "Go, try over there," And I feel like I just kind of ping ponged back and forth a little bit. And there's a lot of people that I think find that community really quickly. Either just good friends, or they're a specific genre of music, like they are pop country or
hmm.
whatever, right? And they go find the thing. You have a sound that's very unique and eclectic, and I say that I don't like those two words in prodigy. I don't like, because they're overused and usually wrong in our industry. Um, but you really are uh, unique and eclectic, and there's some neo soul in there, but I don't know if it's that. There's some folk in there, but I don't know if it's that. It kind of is a mix of things. Um, how do you feel in terms of I'm not talking about audience necessarily, but
Hmm.
just your people that you create with. How do you feel in terms of your community? Do you think you're there, or you're finding the right people? What's that like?
I feel like I've definitely struck gold with a lot of the people that I'm working with right now, and I feel very um, connected with the people that I'm working with. Like I feel like I've definitely found the people that I love to create music with, and they're not necessarily the same genre as me. And honestly, I think that works because I don't really know what genre I am. I like a lot of different things, and so I think it's easy for me to um, connect with different musicians who are in different lanes and glean inspiration and uh, what's the word? I guess inspiration from them and just learn from them and what they're doing. Yeah. I think that you, like all the connections that I've made lead back to you in some way or another. you know,
That's awesome.
I met Braxton through you, and then through Braxton, I met Megan, and I've met so many other people, um, kind of in the same way. So yeah, thank you.
Well, I'm always happy to be a community connector. I've been told
Yeah,
this by several people, and I take great pride in that. I love it. So
yeah,
thank you.
yeah, yeah. I wouldn't be working with all the people I'm working with now if it wasn't for you. So yeah, I really appreciate it.
Well, I happen to believe that you would have found them anyway, but I'm also happy to take credit for it. You, I want to talk about a studio thing, since we've done a lot of stuff in the
Hmm.
studio together. Um, when you do your vocal harmonies, well, I wish I could pause the podcast and take us into the studio so people could listen, because it's not normal. Um, it's it's not like you sing your melody and then you go back in and sing a third on top of it and a sixth below it or whatever, or sing a unison. There was times in the studio when we were doing this record, Shadows in the Soul Machine, where there was 22 backing vocal tracks. And some of them were doubles, sure, but there was so many unique parts, and I remember kind of being amazed sitting there like there's nothing else she could possibly add. This is full. all the harmonies are there. Somehow this minor second works with this. I mean, it was all these. At times I just thought whack intervals. Like, how is this even working? But then you'd add another layer and we'd be sitting in the control room going, damn, wow. And it's not just there to be there. It's adding something. I mean, are you able to just kind of hear different parts and sing it? What goes into that? And again, I'm so bummed we can't pause this and just go into the studio with everyone for a second, because it really is kind of amazing how you do it.
I think when I'm in the moment, I don't really think of a lot about it beforehand. It's kind of the same mindset I'm in, or I don't know, maybe not mindset. That might not be the right word. It's the same like place I'm in when I'm writing a song. I'm kind of just letting something kind of pass through. I don't know. I feel like if I like when I start adding harmonies new, I just get inspired and start adding things that, seem like they would work. And, it's sometimes it's hit or miss, but I feel like it's kind of a flow state thing. And if I'm feeling inspired, it just comes out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's absolutely wild. There's a better word than wild, but that's all I got right now. It's absolutely wild to watch. There was just these, and go check out the record, people. There's a link in the show notes. There's just some really cool musical ideas with the chords, with the harmonies, but the harmonies is kind of this thing that you do so well. And it's cool to hear all these different parts layered on top. It's just a unique sound.
Thanks. Yeah, it's definitely, I think it's probably my favorite part of the process.
The harmonies?
I love doing harmony stacks. It's really fun.
How do you stay so consistent with your voice too? I mean, I know there was days where you felt like you weren't warmed up, but again, you not being warmed up is warmed up for most people. You were kind of able to just go in and do it. How do you stay so consistent in being able to deliver on a high level?
I don't know. I feel like I'm not very consistent, but I'm glad it sounds consistent. Do you?
We did listen to a lot of takes, comping stuff, but it was consistently very good.
Thanks. I think just doing it so much. I love singing, and because I love to do it, I do it a lot. And I think just the more that I practice and gig, the more I'm able to kind of stay pretty consistent, I guess. I think that's, I don't know, I think just putting it into practice and just doing it all the time is what creates that consistency.
Do you have any advice that you would give to anybody? I know getting fatigued singing is a big thing for a lot of people. I did 6 gigs in the last 5 days, and they were all 3-hour singing gigs. And I know you do this kind of thing too. Is there specific advice that you'd give to vocalists who are having to sing a lot in order to stay healthy?
I mean, this is advice that I have to take myself because I find myself getting pretty fatigued by the end of a long week of singing for several hours every day. Having a good warm-up routine, at least for like 10 to 15 minutes, if you're on the way in the car, throw in Jacob's Vocal Academy. Can't go wrong.
Vocal Academy, okay.
Yeah. It will end up being your #1 song on Spotify, Wrapped, at the end of the year. But if you're okay with that, your voice will thank you. Also, drinking lots of water. I feel like the thing I have to be most mindful of is my breath and making sure that I'm getting enough air, especially if I'm sitting down, like at Eddie V's or at the piano, that's where um, I will find myself using the wrong muscles and structures to get the sound that I want. And I have to be really like mindful of my breath and making sure that I am using my diaphragm and stuff so I don't get as tired.
Yeah.
I was finding myself there last night.
That's right. You were there last night. Yes.
Um, so yeah, incorporating breathing exercises, into your routine, that's another helpful thing. This is all advice that I have to take myself, and I'm being reminded of it.
Yeah.
Right now.
I hear that. I hear that. The last thing I wanted to ask you was the influence of open tunings on your songwriting.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when you first started playing guitar, and I don't think you ever brought that thing in standard tuning. You just wouldn't do it. And, it was open D. There was one like it was like a C9 tuning of some sort, but you've used all these different open tunings. What influence does that have on your music and specifically your writing?
Oh, so much. I mean, that's the way I find all my fun chords that I want to play. um, it's really helpful for evoking kind of in between E sounding chords that maybe represent certain emotions. Um, I don't know. I feel like I just find the sound I want really easily, and I feel more locked in with my songwriting when I'm in an open tuning. So I never play in standard. Maybe one day.
And
Maybe one day.
you managed to tune one guitar a whole bunch of times into all these different tunings.
Yes. It is a little bit difficult. Sometimes I have to bring more than one guitar. But that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Is there anything that I was supposed to talk to you about that I forgot or you
I don't
forgot?
I don't think so. I think we covered quite a bit.
Me too. I'm so glad we finally got to do this. I'm so proud of you and your music and your journey. It's super super cool to watch, and thanks for chatting with me.
Thanks for having me.